This movie tells a story about a global pop sensation who begins experiencing increasingly terrifying and inexplicable events. Overwhelmed by the escalating horrors and the pressures of fame, she is forced to face her past. This movie really feels like more of the same, as it relies too much on rehashing the first movie's formula, and uninterested to start expanding the mythology surrounding the demonic entity. The movie is basically following the template of the original, as the story is pretty much delving into the same old been there done that territory, making the whole effort seem painfully routine. The meltdown and terror feels more tired, as it lacks the crucial element of surprise, and succumbs to the tried horror tropes. We've seen all the beats of this story, immediately undercutting any sense of suspense or unpredictability this story could have. It's a bloated sequel that cribs from far more interesting conceits and movies over the last several years. This movie reduces its jump scare-heavy tactics in favor of more gory and graphically violent set pieces. The movie keeps the suspense going for a while at least, as it cranks up the wince-inducing moments. However, there are still a few jump scares here that feel like cheap thrills. The movie reuses the question of whether the main character is just imagining things or not, like its predecessor heavily used. It's mostly a focused psychological dive deep into the main character's intensifying personal descent into hell, with one vision after another driving her to the edge. Somehow this rapid decline doesn't make much of an impression on her friends and family, who just wonder what the hell is wrong with her. This repetitive approach gets tedious after a while some of the first movie's shortcomings still rear their ugly heads in the sequel. The audience is ahead of its protagonist, who is unaware that she has inherited a curse that is passed from person to person. It's all rinse and repeat, with the movie seemingly going around the circle in the middle section, with her spending too much time freaking out without truly advancing the story. The main character in this movie is worse than the one before, as she shouts a lot to the point her character goes wildly hysterical and feels a lot like overacting. The movie explores her plight dealing with her personal demon and the price of fame, while the curse of the unseen demonic entity begins to torment her state of mind. Unfortunately, it's really difficult to root for her, as the way her character is written and portrayed on the screen is more of an in-your-face showcase of amplifying her emotions thrown directly at the viewers. We're treated to near constant close-ups of her face. But she never feels like a character, more like a receptacle for trauma. The movie fails to make either her backstory or present-day ordeal dramatically satisfying. Sometimes the movie still gets so bogged down in delivering predictable jump scares that it never really fleshes out her inner turmoil. As the terrors increase and she goes to absurd lengths to combat the images in her head, the emotionally scarred person inside her remains unexplored. As far as other characters, they're all one note. There's an effort to introduce a new character, however, that doesn't do much to elevate the sequel after all. The lack of characterization puts everything on the plot, which doesn't particularly know where to go. The movie routinely dials down the formation of a plot, preferring a series of screen shocks and lengthy freakouts instead, which loses its efficacy the second time around. It feels overlong, and it takes almost 80 minutes before the main character even realizes what's going on. Overall, it's not worth to watch this in theaters, just wait on your streaming service.